Chasm R. Today we are mixing things up a little bit and trying something new. Instead of guided meditation, I will be reading scary stories found on Reddit. The credit for all of these works goes to the creators, which I will link in the description along with a link to the original posts. If you like these kinds of videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and comment below. Every little thing truly helps support the channel so we can continue providing you with quality content. Now let's get on to the video. Mom said being chosen by the sea gods would feel like butterflies in my lungs. My boyfriend was chosen last year. Kyan started choking up blood-stained water in the middle of class. Within an hour, the town elders dragged him down to the beach shallows. I didn't see his sacrifice, but I did hear his frightened cry. Even when they sliced Kyan's voice from his throat, I heard gurgles for breath, for mercy our town would never grant. My town had a funny way of saying, "Sucks to be you," when sacrificing their 18-year-olds to appease a sea god. Being chosen did not feel like butterflies in my lungs. Waking up with salt water gushing through my mouth, I screamed for my mother. I was choking, spluttering, drowning. It hurt, straining my chest and taking hold of my heart, squeezing between phantom fists. Mom carried me down to the shallows where townspeople already gathered. I was forced to my knees in ankle-deep water, so cold, and yet I felt weirdly comfortable. Almost at peace, enveloped in the waves. I wasn't as scared as I thought. Mom was dragged away, and a sacrificial blade pricked my throat. I didn't even feel it. 1 second I was alive and breathing, the warm sun on my face, the cool wind rushing through my hair. Then I was sinking, down, down. I was aware of my blood staining the water, fish's red caught in a halo around me. Deeper, and somehow my lungs were still working. My breaths coming out in startled bubbles exploding around me. I could feel it, a presence pulling me down. It was warm and cozy, and somehow I was alive. I could move, catapulting my body further down. It was only when I began to see towering underwater landscapes, a whole city bustling with fish, did excited bubbles pour out of my mouth. Schools of fish flew past me, mer people carrying tiny mer babies with their fluttering tails. I recognized them. Maya and Olivia, who were sacrificed 2 years prior. They swam past me with brand new tails growing from their torsos, completely blanking me. I followed them, aware my human legs were a little slower. I stopped, however, when I glimpsed him. Kyan. He was beautiful. Sporting a long silver tail, his dark curls were adorned with seaweed, like a prince. Kyan. I had no voice. Instead, red-tinged bubbles exploded from my mouth. I started towards him, but his eyes were strangely empty, hollow. Looking closer, I noticed seaweed wrangled around his throat, markings carved into his arms and face. Kyan swam past me, tailed by a bulging fish-like thing that resembled a girl. In her arms, a tiny baby with bulging eyes and a deformed head. With Kyan's features. Finally. The voice in my head was an inhuman boom. Above me, the inky darkness of a gnawing mouth. And out of that mouth, thousands of mutated fish people resembling men. Another female. I was staring at my own face on a missing person poster, except I wasn't missing. I was right there looking at it. It started last Tuesday. I was leaving work late. The city streets quieter than usual. As I passed by a lamppost, something caught my eye. A missing person poster. My heart stopped when I saw the picture. It was me. The name, the details, everything matched. The date on the poster said I'd been missing for 2 days. I ripped it down, thinking it was some cruel joke. As I hurried home, I found more of them. Every few blocks, there I was, staring back at myself. I called my best friend Mark to see if he'd seen the posters. He sounded confused, said he hadn't seen me for days and was about to report me missing. I got home and locked the door, my mind racing. I pulled out my phone to call the police, but stopped when I saw the voicemail. It was from my mom, sounding frantic, saying she hoped I was safe and asking me to call her back. I dialed her number, but it went straight to voicemail. I left a message assuring her I was fine. That night, I barely slept. I kept hearing noises outside, like footsteps and whispers. The next morning, I decided to go to the police station. On my way, I saw more posters. This time, people were looking at them, then at me, whispering. I felt their eyes follow me. When I reached the station, the officer at the desk looked at me like he had seen a ghost. You're the guy from the posters," he stammered. I explained everything, but he seemed skeptical. He called my parents, but they didn't answer. He pulled up security footage from the street where I supposedly disappeared. The footage showed me walking down the street, then vanishing into thin air. They let me go, but told me to keep in touch. I went straight to Mark's place, hoping he'd believe me. When he opened the door, he looked like he'd seen a ghost too. "What the hell, man? Where have you been?" He showed me the local news on his phone. There was a report about my disappearance, with my picture plastered all over the screen. We spent hours talking, trying to figure out what was happening. As night fell, I decided to stay at Mark's. We locked all the doors and windows, paranoid that something was out there. Around 2 a.m., we heard a noise in the backyard. We looked out the window and saw someone standing there, watching the house. It was too dark to see their face, but their silhouette was unmistakable. It was me. Mark grabbed a bat and we ran outside, but by the time we got there, the figure was gone. The next morning, the posters had changed. They now read "Found," with today's date and my picture crossed out. I was around 5 when I first discovered this superpower. I looked at my mom and saw something floating near her head. 39 years. I had no idea what it meant. I was a fucking child. Then my father came home. 3 years. Next year, it was only 2 years. Then only 1. Then it was 11 months. I started to become scared. It was a countdown. I was afraid he would die when it reached 0. And he did. One morning he went to work. The countdown said 4 minutes. Half an hour later, we got a call from the police. He died in a car accident. I saw these numbers floating above every person's head I met. It's horrible. I saw how long my friends would live. After a few years, I just decided not to look there. I didn't want to know when I would lose them. When I met my now wife, I never looked at the number, not even once, and we've been together for 12 years. I was on a business trip in another state with my coworkers when I FaceTimed my wife. I accidentally saw the number above her head. 5 days. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing, I answered. I slowly started panicking. I think I'll come home a few days earlier. I bought a plane ticket immediately after the call ended and left my coworkers there. 5 hours later, I was already on the plane, flying home. I can save her, I repeated in my head. I won't let her leave the house that day. She'll be safe. I was so stressed, so I wanted to get some food to calm down. But as I looked at the person sitting ahead of me, he had 1 minute floating above his head. Holy shit, he'll probably get a heart attack soon. I looked at the person sitting beside me. 1 minute. Everyone on the plane had 1 minute floating above their heads. What the fuck? Then the plane started to shake. Dear passengers, it's the pilot, he said through the speakers. The weather is quite bad here. There's a bit of turbulence, but you don't have to worry. Everything will be all right.